I'm going to copy what I left on here in the event that it disappears, because sometimes that happens, specifically on Zionist Talk, which was formerly China Talk. You know, TikTok. I'll read this to you because most of you aren't worth your salt, which means you're not truly invested, you're not involved, you're not going to read all this. That might be the knee-jerk reaction, as one too many superficial internet babies have rattled off to me in the past. The not-so-distant past. As it reads, do you know what else is funded by the Rockefeller Trust? The Tavistock Institute, motherfucker, which is intimately connected with eugenics, both of which are firmly rooted in fascist ideology. What's my point? Right? That's what you guys want to know. All parties mentioned trained people quite well, specifically to crap out narcissistic reaction videos. Have you seen people do that? Have you done that? Chances are highly likely you bought into it because most people out there are marching in lockstep with their horse blinders on because they can't recognize the forest for the fucking trees. Back to point, I'm off script. I'm taking liberties. And so are the people pulling our strings. Nudge, nudge, something, something. It's a pun. All parties mentioned trained people quite well, specifically to crap out narcissistic reaction videos. I have no interest in watching somebody who did not provide the information stare at the screen with some earbuds in, nor should you. Serves no purpose, goes nowhere, it's fuck all. It's superficial. It's materialism at its best. It's also ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous, but I shouldn't have to say that. I used to record videos where I showed you the front of my head. I stopped doing it when most superficial people bought into this garbage. And what do these superficial people do? What is their reaction when they see a video where I'm showing you my carpet that I need to vacuum and or my socks shuffling through my house? Dude, I don't trust you. I don't know about this. Why don't you show your face? You don't need to see my mouth move to comprehend information. Think about that. You can rewind this. You could play this again. You could think about the words I just said because I'm telling you a lot. But what do I know? Back to point. Think for yourself. That's the bottom line. By the way, due to patently fascist censorship, which most of you cater to, in case you have assumptions, if you assume otherwise, you probably rattled off shadow banning, canceling, polarizing, positive vibes only, hating, Snopes, debunked, and or joked around about LifeLog jail. Am I wrong? Does this apply to you? If it does, you should have a long, hard fucking think about how you've been conducting yourself in terms of society, in terms of the DARPA internet, in terms of social engineering platforms people were trained to believe in and consider, or refer to as social media, for the lack of better words. You really need to rethink quite literally everything you've been up to, because more likely than not, you're misleading people by example and you aren't bright enough to realize as much, which is why I'm here, to help you. And you probably won't see this post if I leave it on YouTube, because I get no traction, just like getting no satisfaction. Yeah, I was listening to the Stones earlier, and that's horrible, I know. Back to point. As I was saying, so we touched on that. So now is a great time to rethink raising your vibration. This is something people repeat. We got this. I'm sure some of you probably have said that, or you've echoed it. You're a beautiful ray of dog shit. Rainbows falling out of your asshole. Yeah, that type of garbage. And all the other things people rattle off and believe in. Because people are playing a mean game of cosplay. Things are getting worse, exponentially speaking, and you probably assume I'm wrong. This guy has 11,000 people who have clicked like on this video. I can't get 2 people in most cases to watch my videos. Because I'm doing the right thing. I shit you not. I shit you not. No, I'm not diluted. No, I'm not this. No, I'm not that. I don't need Rockefeller-funded therapy. I don't need Rockefeller-funded big pharma petroleum-based pills. What I need is for you to pull your head out of your ass, because I'm surrounded by morons. That's why things are bad, and that's why things are getting worse, exponentially speaking. Yes, I'm going to play this video. Here's the fucking fella you're going to have to stare at longer than I'd like to. Maybe you want to. Just the same, 9,865 people have, by extension, circulated this propaganda which normalizes narcissistic reaction videos. And yes, it's a fucking problem. Oh, by the way, I'll come back to it in a second. I love doing this because our masters constantly interrupt things because they're rewiring how your brain fucking works so that it does not work effectively, efficiently. A to Z. Yeah, the quickest line between 2 points is what? You with me? Probably not. Irony.
In the 1930s,
Love his haircut.
The Rothschild-Rockefeller Alliance, they began funding scientific studies to look at how musical frequencies can prepare the masses for war. And that's because they wanted to control people. They want that mind control programming. And so
you see, staring at his facial hair and that bad haircut, that's relevant to what she has to say, is it not? The fact that we have to look at the front of his head, that augments this experience, right? Not to mention, he helped, knock out some of this research. He helped figure this out. No, he just regurgitated it on the DARPA internet, and he thinks that he's good enough, he's great enough, he's worthy of you staring at the front of his fucking face because he did that for you. The bigger point, because he's marching in lockstep like all the other brain-dead twats out there, that's part of why he has traction. That's part of why the algorithm is circulating this video. Keep in mind, if this information and the video in question was doing something like what I'm doing right now, he would have no traction. And some of you might think that's okay, which is absolutely fucking terrifying. What do I mean by that? If freedom of speech existed in real life and in a digital format on the DARPA internet, he and I should be equals. Let that one sink in.
In 1938, there was a gentleman named Harold Burroughs Meyer, and he was a theatrical designer and a sound engineer. And he began developing techniques that would control the emotional response of audiences and to create mass hysteria. And so from there, you have this, this Rockefeller-Rothschild alliance. What they were doing is not only were they looking at ways to steer the masses, but they wanted to change the standard tuning of A to 440 hertz. So in 1939, they began funding Joseph Goebbels, who was the Nazi propagandist. And at that time, Joseph Goebbels, he wanted to change the standard tuning of A. And so he organized a meeting in London to do that. Now, up until that...
Two things, if I can remember them. One, the Rothschilds, Red Shields. Their original name was Bauer. B-A-U-E-R, crudely speaking. It translates to peasant and a number of other things along those lines. And it's something you should know about, because these are low-level bastards, which is why you've heard the name Rothschilds and Rockefellers. It's why you're also spoon-fed things by the same people pulling our strings, having to do with Vanguard and BlackRock. These things are circulated, you're aware of these names, because the people pulling the strings, you don't know their names and address. You don't know what they look like, which also factors into these narcissistic reaction videos. The people pulling our strings are not paraded around on the box and the big screen. You don't see them in social media. You see their puppets. And most people haven't figured that out. She rattled off something else, and now I can't think of what it was. We're going to listen to this again.
Of A to 440 hertz. Began developing techniques that would control the emotional response of audiences and to create mass hysteria. And so from there, you have this, this Rockefeller-Rothschild alliance. What they were doing is not only were they looking at ways to steer the masses, but they wanted to change the standard tuning of A to 440 hertz. So in 1939...
Apologies. The other bit that I was going to relate to you, I'm not going to leave online. It was something I considered leaving online, but you guys probably don't give a fuck about what I could teach you. Right? Because most of you are no different from the 6,751 who have bookmarked this, or 6,750, pardon me, I'm one of them, for the time being, and the 11,000 who think this sounds good. And they don't take an issue with the fact that this kid is circulating, quite literally, social engineering propaganda. You probably don't know what I'm talking about. Allow me to think for you. Narcissistic reaction videos were spoon-fed to people. The concept, that is. People bought into it. Why would that be an issue? If I leave it at that, could you answer this question? You should be able to, based on the numerous variables involved in terms of society, what you are already privy to. You have all the ingredients. You should be able to cook, as the kids like to refer to it. Can you? Can you do so? If I leave it at that. Here's another point. If I left it at that. I didn't tell you the fucking answer. And I told you, only if you can answer this painfully simple question will I show you the rest of the video. Keep in mind, you could go to this bullshit account and you could watch it. But if I made it an ultimatum, just like I have with test questions on my accounts, which people can't answer by and large, very few people have. One dude answered 2. A really cool gal that I know also answered 1 of them. Most people can't do it because most people can't think critically. Narcissistic reaction videos are no different from Pokemon Go. Do you remember that bullshit? The reason these things, these social engineering agendas, which are campaigns, working against you and I, against the public, against the people. And that's exactly what this bag of fucking dog shit is catering to. And he doesn't realize it because he's not very bright, and or he's either misleading you intentionally or unintentionally, in which case you're still being misled. Poor way to put it. I know I'm beating around the bush because what do our masters do? They show you one thing, they pull out the rug. They show you another thing, they pull out the rug. You get one fucking advertisement after another. You scroll, there's lag. You scroll, there's lag. You look away, it drags you back to the top of the slush pile. Would you agree? These are divisive social engineering agendas. These are tactics that were cooked up at the Tavistock Institute, which is intimately connected with eugenics, both of which are firmly rooted in fascist ideology. All of which are in place to mislead and manipulate. Facial recognition software, AI. You and I are training it. That's why narcissistic reaction videos are a trend. Has anybody ever stated that online? Have you seen anybody take an issue with it? Or have you seen a bunch of people marching in lockstep with their horse blinders on? Oh, I'm right.
They began funding Joseph Goebbels, who was the Nazi propagandist.
Isn't that ironic? Here's another tidbit. At the end of World War II, and this is common knowledge by and large, or at least it should be, America conscripted Nazis. This is part of who funded NASA and founded NASA. This is a testament that you and I no longer have a constitution to worry about. I'm going to give you another little tidbit again. This stuff you can't Google, of course, because we're using the DARPA internet. Google's a tool of propaganda. Welcome to the party, motherfucker. And hopefully, when I leave this online, the video isn't stripped, my audio isn't stripped, and or the video isn't challenged and removed. Because we live in patently fascist times of censorship. So, the Republic fell during the Civil War, because the Civil War is the epitome of the Hegelian dialectic. What is the Hegelian dialectic, you ask? It's fascism in practice. So the Civil War, yeah, that marks when the Hegelian dialectic, was paraded around quite literally as a banner of the North and the South, for the lack of better words. That's when the Republic fell. It was finalized in 1871, and the Organic Act established the District of Columbia. The District of Columbia is a phony third-party jurisdiction. It's a bullshit government. Technically, it's a corporation. Technically, it's the bottom of the corporation. And the corporation is what? If I left it at that, could you answer the question? Probably not. And some of you might say the Vatican, because that's something that's been circulated, but that's not the big picture. That's a broken clock. Because our masters are selling people a broken clock. They're misleading people at every fucking crook in the road. The District of Columbia is the bottom of the Trilateral City-States, and the Trilateral City-States is comprised of 3 tiers, not 2. The UK, Roma, and the District of Columbia. You got the banking financial district on the top, the money. You got social control, religion in the middle, and you got the military industrial complex. You got the military might on the bottom. Now if, and I mean a big fucking if, and it's not an if really because it didn't. The Republic, if it was for the people, by the people, and it's full of smart people, doing the right thing to see that you and I are safe and that things are free and that we have innate rights, not corporate, sanctioned rights, not things handed to us by the government, because no one's illegal. Yeah? All laws are man-made. You and I have the right to exist and be free and breathe healthy air, drink healthy water, and eat healthy food. But that's not how things function anymore, because I'm surrounded by retards. Because they bought into phony jurisdictions. The District of Columbia is a phony jurisdiction. It's a third party. It's a corporation. Most people would still dress up as a government because you and I are surrounded by exceptionally dim lights. This would not exist, and the Republic would not have established this in 1871 under the Organic Act. If the Republic truly existed and did not, in fact, fall during the Civil fucking War.
And at that time, Joseph Goebbels, he wanted to change the standard tuning of A, and so he organized a meeting in London to do that. Now, up until that time, the standard tuning of A was set at 435 hertz, and that was from a conference in Vienna in 1880.
I could teach you something really neat having to do with what's on the screen at the moment. And chances are, people who have been keeping up with me long term, cherry pickers and otherwise, probably still do not know what the fuck I'm referring to. Yes, that sounds like some grandstanding. But if you considered what I've been leaving online for at least 13 years, over a decade, as I like to complain about, I've handed you the tools to sort this out. And I don't know anybody who's coming remotely close. Which is also telling, because you and I are behind the 8 ball and things are only getting worse. Yeah? There was something else I was going to rattle off a moment ago. I got sucked into the narcissistic reaction video. That's what it was. Would you agree? You're not looking at my face at the moment. I'm interjecting periodically, and I'm teaching you things if you're not a complete bag of meat. It's a big difference to what you see here, which has been circulated. 11,000 fucking people have seen this. And I can't get 2 or 3 people to watch some of the videos I leave online. I want you to let that sink in. Yeah, there are numerous things that you probably believe in and you repeat that are absolute fucking bullshit. And if you and I had a conversation, I would laugh at you. Because anybody out there willing to do the right thing would laugh at you. They would not suffer a fucking fool. And only by doing so might they bring you into the fold and change the fact that you're misleading people by example. The chances of you circulating propaganda are extremely likely. I would bet on it. You probably don't know a fucking thing. Especially if you're somebody who buys into videos like this. The shit that's well-financed, well-circulated, and normalized on the DARPA internet. Which is to say, things that the algorithm is spoon-feeding you in your fucking feed. It's a red flag!
9. But they wanted to shift it to 440 hertz. And so Radio Berlin approached the British Standard Association and asked if they would organize this conference in London, which was a total setup in which, the powers that be had control of what the outcome was going to be. And they didn't invite any of the French musicians because they were opposed to 440 hertz. And then the organizers of the conference, they interviewed musicians, the instrument makers, the physicists, and then also the sound engineers. And if any of those people were against 440 hertz, then they weren't invited to the conference. So it was all controlled. And, as a result, it's not surprising that the standard tuning of A was changed to 440 hertz. And that happened June 1939, just months before World War II broke out.
Here's another thought. Because this is only telling you that this shit dates back to 1930 approximately. The people pulling our strings have been at this at least since the 16th century. What I'm saying is this kid's a superficial baby, a superficial internet baby, not worth his salt. And I've kicked the shit out of that dead horse, which I say too often these days, but it's true. But it's also relevant. He's showing you something that is superficial. You can track this back, and there are deeper roots. This goes back to Pythagoras, for fuck's sake. And a big twist in the story, surprise motherfuckers, took place around the 16th century. But is that presented in this video? No. It's a single video on the DARPA internet, and these days, brain-dead kids usually digest clips. Here's another point. Let me see where this is at. This video is only 2 minutes long, which is insulting, by the way. Not the video I recorded, which is 21 minutes long. The internet will tell you now on social engineering platforms people have been trained to believe are social media, and I like to remind you of that because it's important, it's relevant. If your video is longer than a minute, or longer than 30 seconds, or longer than 15 seconds, it might not be seen by other people. That's also the opposite of freedom of speech. It's also retarded because it hinders what? Communication, presenting information to the masses, which is allegedly why we were trained to use the DARPA internet in the first place. Yeah? Because we're all connected? That's a bad pun, by the way, having to do with merging man with machine. You with me? Probably not. Quick thought. Do you have a credit card? Do you remember the RFID chips before they were imposed on you and I? When you go through a supermarket, do you remember when that first happened? And you had to walk through and say, do I use my chip? You're being trained, motherfucker. And I don't know anybody, no one, who took an issue with that. I cut those fucking things out for a period of time. Eventually, the bank stopped. They turned off the card. If it doesn't have the chip in there and I'm still not using the chip, they turned it off. It had to have the chip in there even if you swiped. And I don't know anybody that figured that out because I'm not surrounded by critical thinkers willing to do the right fucking thing. There's no reason to have two options. None. The chip should not exist. You don't need it. The swiping option was efficient. It works. Do you know what I'm getting at? Anybody out there, for fuck's sake, can you use your brain? Are you willing to do the right thing and walk the walk? And the chances are you're not. You probably tuned out because I'm barking at you, telling you that you're probably doing the wrong things because you probably are. And if we had a conversation, I could point these things out, but you're probably too afraid. You're probably too afraid. And if I didn't say this up front, if you do chime in, if you see this video, how likely is it that you would truncate your words, you would purposely misspell your or you, and or think it was a good idea to illustrate a point with a fucking emoji that was written into a free social media platform? Yeah, out of the kindness of our masters' hearts. They're definitely not misleading you and retraining how you think. And the more often you use emojis, the less often you'll articulate yourself. It's just as fucking retarded as knocking out a superficial reaction video.
Harmony, disruption, and disunity.
You hear those words? And then the best part is it cuts to this fucking wet... He's a wet fart. He's a fucking twat. He's everything wrong with this world. And this is what the internet caters to. Because he's a fucking moron.
We need to be mindful of what we're putting in our environment.
I haven't got that far in this video. Oh my god. Oh, bowl cut, you stupid fucking cunt.
We're listening to what we're consuming on a day-to-day basis. This
The word of the day is irony.
music is frequency programming. It's programming you to react.
Do you hear that bullshit music in the background? Does that sound closer to tritones? What do you think?
This is frequency programming, and people are not aware.
It's not exceptionally dissonant or discordant, but it sure as shit sounds closer to a tritone to me. Maybe I'm wrong.
Forces that are out there trying to control you every
Is it ironic? Some of you have to be versed in music more than I am. Is that closer to a tritone?
single day. So be mindful of what you're listening to. Be mindful of what you're allowing within your aura.
Button up your shirt, bowl cut. This guy's such a fucking moron. I've complained at him numerous times over, but nothing. Do you see a happy little sun emoji in his description box? Well, do you? I could teach you things you're not supposed to know. But this is who people idolize, praise, circulate, and assume isn't misleading them. What the fuck do I know?